Welcome to another episode
Next episode.
of the Thought Exchange Cafe. Exchange Cafe. Exchange Cafe.
You're tuned into the cafe of the mind, where thoughts are brewing, souls unwind. The air is rich with dreams so fine. We pour our hearts in every line. The whispers dance like light through trees, a melody that sets us free. Welcome to the Thought Exchange, where ideas flow and minds array. A place where words will never fade. In this cafe, we're unafraid.
Greetings and welcome to another episode coming to you from the Thought Exchange Cafe. This afternoon, we have with us a special guest in studio, and I am learning, being transparent, I'm learning how to say the name, because the name, it's internal ease and peace within myself when I say it. So I don't want to mess it up. So what I'm going to do, and I've asked the young lady to give me the space to be able to make sure I practice to get it right. And she was kind enough to know that when you give a person space, you get the best back from them. Would you mind please introducing yourself?
I don't mind at all. So glad to be here. My name is Coenia Martin Page.
Coenia or ease, coe. Anyway, you see, so
You said it with ease. That was great.
well, thank you so much for giving me that. So this afternoon, you and I had the opportunity of enjoying a walk with friends and family. And it was the first walk of the year. And at first, I was going to go to work. I was going to do some other thing. Yesterday, I met a young man who asked me to, he said, "Did you go fishing?" I said, "Well, I haven't been fishing in a while." And he asked the question, he says, "Why haven't you been fishing?" I said, "Well, between work and things like that." And he said to me, "You know what?" He says, "Work is always going to be there, but you don't want to get to a certain point in your life and you begin to question yourself about why didn't you go?" And this morning, I asked myself the question, why are you not going? And I'm grateful that I did go. Um, the opportunity to come and sit with you this afternoon, to have a brief conversation, to introduce yourself to the Thought Exchange Cafe audience, as well as, uh, us having a conversation. Because it's all about conversation. Here at the Thought Exchange Cafe, it's all about education, motivation, inspiration, as well as eliminating some of those fears that some of the folks may have. Because sometimes folks get to these crossroads and they just don't know what to do. And that's when the fear sets in. And for me, when I allowed fear to set in, I was not moving, I was not growing, and I made a decision. And I made a decision to stay in that. And as I believe it was Les Brown says, by not making a decision, you're still making a decision. So I begin to make better decisions. Could you tell us a little bit about your background? Tell us a little bit about who you are. What Just give us a little bit about a little bit of your bio.
Wow. Well, I appreciate you sharing about your decision to not delay your joy. That was a bumper sticker in front of me this morning.
Wow.
Isn't that something?
That says to me, there was some alignment in
Yeah.
everything that is happening right this moment. There's no coincidences or no, um, yeah, there's no coincidence.
Yeah. Great. I'm really glad to be here. Um, I am um a attorney, real estate broker, um, and I also have an LLM in tax. I am a mother of 3 boys. Um, my oldest is a freshman at Boston University, which is my husband's alma mater, and my oldest 2 are at Brookline High School.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, I um, live and work office in Brookline Village, and I um, I'm really passionate and joyful about um, uh, helping people um, uh, achieve their dreams. Um, in my work, it's about um, achieving their dreams around home ownership, buying and selling. Um, I love hearing their stories. I love helping to be a bridge to connect people to opportunities. And I'm really glad to be here.
Mm. And I am happy. I'm also grateful that you're here right this moment.
Mhm.
Because as they say, that all we have is the now, because we don't know what's going to happen later on down the line. But right now is the now to grasp, to hold to be grateful for, to be thankful for, and to take advantage of the now. And in saying taking advantage of the now, I'm going to take advantage that you and I had a conversation. We was talking about this little kid being inside. And you began to tell me a story of when you were young and you had to go with your older brother and sister, I believe, right?
Mhm.
And you had to go to they was taking SATs and certain things of that nature in the class. And you being a youngin' and the teacher noticing you and saying to you to speak up and to participate. And then we started talking about you introduced me to this book. And what was the name of the book and the author?
Yes. So Malcolm Gladwell is the author, and the book is David and Goliath. Um, there's a subtitle in the book. Let me see if I can bring it up. Um, let's see. Give me a second. Um, David and Goliath, underdogs and misfits in the art of battling giants.
Wow. Could repeat that title of that book once again, please.
Of course. David and Goliath, underdogs, misfits, and the art of battling giants.
I have a question for you
Mm-hmm.
before we go back. uh, When we were talking and discussing certain topics, and one of those topics was talking about the disadvantages. Disadvantages, I can't really say it the way you said it, but you talked about your disadvantage becoming your advantage, right? In today's society, right? How do you see that in today's right now amongst our people, amongst our youth, amongst our community?
Okay. Um, Great question, Tony. Uh, so I don't know that I would be able to put it as masterfully as Malcolm Gladwell uh, puts it in the book. So first, I'd say to your audience, you got to get the book. It's like that spaghetti sauce is in there. Um, but if I could maybe distill it,
Yes.
he very masterfully, for me, it masterfully reframed, um, turned on its head how I had looked at it and heard and understood the story of David and Goliath. Um, and I suppose it does have resonance for me if I'm thinking about today's times and um, how you look at advantages and disadvantages. And basically, in the book, it invites us to um, consider what we had normally categorized as a disadvantage as maybe not even a disadvantage, but um, a superpower, even. Um,
Mm.
so we commonly come to that story and thought, for example, of David's size to Goliath as a disadvantage. And so it's been many years now since I've read the book, but in Malcolm Gladwell's analysis of that matchup, David's size was an advantage. And by not taking on the king's armor, he was able to leverage that as his superpower, if I could say that, because
Yes.
he was able to be fast in the fight and to be nimble and to be agile, to get away and to run and to move and maneuver. And so, and if we apply that to our own lives as we're encountering challenges, um, something where somebody may have sized you up and comes you up and said, "You're too small for that thing." But the very thing that somebody may have categorized for you and named as your disadvantage may be the thing that you need to help make you agile and nimble for the challenge that you're facing. Um, to apply that to my childhood that you were sharing, if that's all right.
Yes.
Um, what he's speaking to is as a child, my brother and sister were in a Saturday program. It was a college preparedness program for disadvantaged students, and they would go on Saturdays, and some educators would take their time out of their weekend and to come teach these Black students. It's funded by the McNair Scholars McNair Foundation, um, and they would do various enrichment programs on the Saturdays. Sometimes it'd be field trips. Um, Sometimes it'd be different math or grammar lessons, and sometimes it'd be public speaking, which I know you do, and other times it would be different little SAT worksheets. I wasn't eligible for the program because I was too young, but I was there because we were disadvantaged and we didn't have and couldn't afford a babysitter. And my mom had to work. So I had to go. My mama said, "Couldn't you leave me at home?" And the people who ran the program, one of whom um, was Mrs. Annie Grace Foster, who's passed, very dear to my mom, my family. And the other was Mrs. Joyce Broxton. And they were very generous and gracious to allow me to tag along. Um, they also didn't let me sit there and be a wallflower, even though all the kids are high school kids, and I was just little 8-year-old little girl.
Wow.
And so I had to speak. So I was telling you, I would get up there and say, "Boop, boop, boop," even though I had to speak in my church too, grew up in a Black church, you got to speak.
Come on now.
They would tell me, speak up, open your mouth. So I had to share and I had to project my voice, speak from my diaphragm. And when the worksheets came out, I had to do the worksheets too. But I was eager. I was eager. And we have an inclusive culture. And it was an accountability and a calling in of love. These are Black teachers. And so they called me in and they embraced me. And so I didn't feel very disadvantaged. And I was eager to go. And I didn't feel poor or without because we didn't have a babysitter. I felt very enriched. And so um, that, quote unquote, disadvantage, little did we know, was building up muscle and skill. So fast forward later in life, this little disadvantaged Head Start child, and we know what the Head Start program was about, feeding the poor children, make sure they had a breakfast and literacy. When I got to about middle school, we had an opportunity to take the SAT if you scored a certain score on your standardized test. And I scored high enough to qualify for the Duke Talent Identification Program.
Wow.
And I didn't look like what you're supposed to look like to be scoring what I scored and to qualify as I did. But you know why I got that? Because I was disadvantaged.
Mm.
And I sat in a disadvantaged space. And so when you think about the David and Goliath, the very thing that disadvantaged me put me in a position to slay the Goliath of the standardized test. So I like to think that I'm a smart girl, and also, so two things can be true. And also, those standardized tests are really not about how smart you are. They're about how well you can take the exam. And I had the good fortune to be poor and to not have a babysitter and to sit in a space where I was giving access to some components of the exam. And so I was given the opportunity to practice. And so by the time I got there, I had built up a muscle that I could apply, and I was able to excel. So I was able to slay the SAT Goliath in middle school, and so that's how I leveraged that disadvantage. And so there's an anecdote backed up by statistics that Malcolm Gladwell shared in his book, and there is a direct example I found in my own life. And so I suspect as your audience and you, as you read this book, you might find your own examples, and we might find resonance in today's current circumstance that might testify to us and encourage us to keep leveraging, our quote unquote disadvantages. Yeah.
I'm so grateful I'm so grateful for this conversation that we had today. I'm grateful for the information that you are sharing. And I would like to say a couple of things that you talked about. And one of the biggest things that kind of stood out for me, that kind of grabbed me, was that muscle piece. exercising that muscle and not allowing that muscle to become dormant. In today's society or environment, the way things are right now, and this is just my perspective and from what I see, the lack of attention today, that always looking for that consistent hit of dopamine, meaning constantly scrolling, not focusing on just one thing. In neuroplasticity, you see neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to change and adapt to different stimuli. And there's also a study that says when you focus on something for an hour or more, you begin to grow new neurons and different things begin to happen within the brain. And just talking about the disadvantage, the way I can't really eloquently what is there, how it played a major role in where you are today. And the point I'm getting at is that if we could kind of bring that back, it's still here today in our present day. But do we begin to let folks see that you may think that you have a disadvantage, but how do you see it as becoming? And you may not see it as being an advantage later on down the line, right? In here at the Thought Exchange Cafe, we talk about education, motivation, inspiration, and eliminating some of the people's fears, some of their doubts, some of their concerns. And just with what you talked about, that allowing the disadvantage to become your advantage, right? If you had to, if there was something that you could say to a people, to a group of people, or to a community, what would you say to them? And with what is happening in our present day, meaning politically, socially, economically, what would you say?
Um, in terms of an encouragement or
In terms of encouragement, but also in terms of the allowing the disadvantage that you see to not allow what's going on right now to as you see in a disadvantage. Because as you talk about your disadvantage became an advantage point for you. There are some right now, and I should have clarified, so forgive me. There are some right now who are only looking at their disadvantage and may not see the advantage of the disadvantage later on, right? You didn't see it either, but eventually in time, it became an advantage for you. And what I would like for you to kind of say to the audience or give a little something to inspire someone, to motivate someone, to eliminate something. Because right now, a lot of people feel disadvantaged. And let's keep one thing in mind too. When we talk about certain things today, or we discuss in certain communities, certain environments, what word is used? Disadvantage. Disadvantaged youth. Disadvantaged communities. You know, and with what you went through and not knowing how it's going to be an advantage for you, what would you say to someone who's facing?
well, first I want to validate people's feelings. Um, you feel you feel the way you feel. Those feelings come from somewhere, and I don't want to just brush over that. I also want to say, um, uh, this is home now. And also, I grew up, I have Southern roots. And so I refer to my grandfather who's passed as granddaddy. My granddaddy say time brings about a change. So, which I relate to that by saying time gives you perspective.
Mm.
And so, you can't always see, you can't always have clarity when you're in the midst of a situation. And so, one of the key words I heard you say, you said many keywords, so much wisdom, the font, Tony, but one of the keywords I heard you say is community. And so, being in community, I think, is very key. And I feel so fortunate to be visiting. We're at the Lena Park um,
Community
building
Development Center,
the
yes.
CDC today. I got my start representing a CDC in Florida, um, helping them with their affordable real estate development. Really life-changing work for me. Perspective comes a lot of times looking back at a thing. And I remember some songs, Look Where He Brought Me From.
Mm.
My soul looks back and wonders how I got over. Those songs speak to time and overcome, and then looking back in reflection. But if you want some insight in the midst of something, get in community. In community, there is healing. There is the opportunity for engagement with others who can help give us perspective, who might be more seasoned than we are. Notice I said seasoned. The seasoning, the more seasoning in our hair, seasoning in our age, and to who might be generous to share wisdom with us and give us some perspective. Because when you're in the midst of something, it can feel heavy.
Yes.
It can feel bleak. But in community with elders, they can help let you know this won't be forever. And also in community with folks younger than us that can give you maybe some newer, nuanced ideas about something. And so that is one common um, thread that has not failed me throughout my life. Being in community could be a community of two,
Mm.
but don't walk by yourself. And that's how we met in community in the walking group.
Yes.
And so that is so important to have community. David and Goliath, in the story, David was out in the field, but came to the fight, and Goliath was brought in community. So there's so many stories we could call upon about the value of community. But community can really help you reframe your circumstances, can help you lift up your head from holding your head down and grieving a thing to get a different picture of what's happening, um, to try it again. So uh, that would be the thing I would share. And it probably might be unsurprising. My name My name is spelled Koinonia, and it's a Greek word, and it has many connotations, but the heart of it means community.
Mm.
It there's a many Anglicized pronunciations say it Koinonia, and there's a Koinonia farm in Georgia, and that's where Habitat for Humanity, which builds the houses, gets its name. So, is there any surprise that I help people with real estate? And that my name is Coenia. It's almost like my mother spoke that over my life. So it's like she was saying to me, "Community, come here. Fellowship, community, come here." So she's passed away now, but I am working every day to live into that.
So in closing, right before we close this episode, you talked about this is one thing, and I may be getting off subject, but you talked about your mom, right? And your mom seeing something, knowing something from within to give you the name, to give you that name. There was a purpose with the name. There is a deeper purpose than just the name. Talking about our ancestors, because my mom just as well, too, so I can relate and identify, all right? My mom, too, is no longer here in the flesh. But one thing I've learned is that we're energy beings, right? Because I can feel your vibe. I can feel your energy. I can feel your goodness. I can feel your honesty. You see, I can feel your integrity. I can feel your openness. I can feel your connection, right? To a universal source. You talked about being grounded, right? You talked about being in touch. And when we talk about our mothers, for me, our mothers, they may have went before us, but this is my perspective and this is my belief, and I'm going to stand on it. Yeah, what they say, this is my story, and I'm going to stand on my story, right? I could be wrong. Help me out if so, right? They're always here. They're in the presence, they're in the midst. As the word says, that when two or more are gathered in prayer, who is in the midst? That God is in the midst. I believe that in the midst of you and I right now, in the midst of us, there is a God source here, but not just a God source from within, because greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world, right? But also your mother, my mother, those others that went before us to pave this way for you and I to be sitting down right here, right now, having this conversation. Because there are no coincidences. And I believe that this moment was meant to be for you and I. Because now we're going to keep this we're going to keep this, because this is an episode where, all right, let's just be very transparent. We were not going to do this today.
Surprise! Yeah, I'm very surprised.
Yeah, this was not something that was This was not something that was planned. And we're here now. We're here now. And it's being done.
What is your mom's name? What was
My mom's name is Coenia Lil Davis.
you hear that, Miss Amelia Will Davis? Surprise Monday.
You know, we got together to talk about another show that she's going to be on, right? The No Filter podcast. And no, I'm not taking people's guests, okay? And a whole new different dialogue opened up. Earlier, we was talking about, before we even got here, we was talking about that growth cycle. We was talking about the cycle of being, not the cycle, we was talking about people seeing you or seeing us and seeing certain things within us, but not being able to have that beautiful pregnancy. And that beautiful pregnancy is having something within you that you've been holding for a long time, but now you want to give a great birth. But you got those folks that see that you was holding something because there's something within you. And no, it's not this little light of mine. It's this great big light of yours. Because your light is the light of guidance. Your light is the light of a gem of a wisdom and knowledge and hope and strength. Right? And there are those, even those that are close to us today, they wouldn't understand why you are doing some of the things you do. Mom, why are you doing that? My sister, why? I don't. And even certain things within us, that reasoning mind, we talked about that just as well too. That reasoning mind could say, don't do that. Oh no, remember, it's best to be seen and not heard. But you went back and you talked about that teacher. Talk about that teacher. Talk about that teacher mention that teacher and what she did for you, what she said for you. And please, when you do it, amplify yourself of what that teacher, because I have a teacher, but I'll talk about my teacher after you talk about your teacher. Because when you talk about your teacher, reminded me of somebody. I said, oh my God.
I she there were the two teachers of the program. And this particular teacher stuck out. Her name is Mrs. Foster, and I really grieved when she passed. And my experience with her was not unique. That was what was so special about her. And in her way, she changed so many lives. And that's what's so special and important about Black teachers. I was watching this little clip someone posted. I believe he was a pastor, and he was looking at a graduation line, and there was a counselor greeting people, and you can tell she happened to be a Black. I don't know if she's a counselor teacher, and people are coming to the line, and you could see that she had a relationship. Talk about community, and the kids would come up with her, and they were like, and they were dancing to her, and she had a little dance with them. and she shook everybody's hand, but there were some that you can tell she was doing with them much of what I am observing you doing now. It's almost like she had been like a spiritual, if I can say this in a non-gender way, like a spiritual doula to build on your metaphor of the pregnancy, that they had labored and she'd helped them birth this graduation.
Yes.
And
yes.
so they were kind of celebrating
Yes.
the line, and they had arms out, dancing. And then, and there are ones that she was happy for and congratulating them, but you can tell the ones that she had been like a spiritual force with. And so, in a similar way, that sort of embodies this teacher, Mrs. Foster. They're the students that she helped them birth something. She helped them bring
Yes.
forth.
Yes.
And that is just the power of the potential of the Black teacher in the counselor. And I notice of the students, I can only see the backs, but this dance, this connection was not just reserved for the Black and brown students. There were a whole diversity of students that you can see. There was something she'd help them, to borrow from the old language, travail through.
Ooh.
And so that was so special. And so there have been Miss Fosters all over the country through all of the different eras. We all know a teacher or a counselor, if we are fortunate enough to know a teacher or counselor like that. And I am so thankful to have had that as my experience. I'm thankful my children have that at their school. I'm thankful wherever we find those lights in our community. And I'm not surprised when I find them here. I tell Tony I was not born and raised here, but Greater Boston is home now. And I want to share this if this is okay. Do we have time?
You have time.
That uh, I love this. Khalil Green is not my direct classmate, came just a few years after me. I'm a little seasoned as compared to him. But he has this wonderful podcast that he does where he shares wonderful histories. And so he talks about this, about Boston. And I love this about our community. But there's a Black church community, and we will all know it. But it talks about you can't join it; you got to be born in. And but the way he describes Boston history, historically, that's not true of Boston. That once our ancestors were able to escape slavery and get to Boston, they could feel safe here because Boston community members and neighbors put up such a fight that the military and the catchers would stop coming to get them. And so I love to say that "Knuck if you buck" is not just a song. It was a resistance mindset. And so it gives this feel of Boston of saying you don't have to be born in, you can join in, you could be grafted in. Like once you get here, you're at home and you're safe. This is community. Oh my goodness. What um what a wonderful, wonderful feeling to be grafted in. What a beautiful history of foundation that we have here, that you can come in and people would just come in and join the knuck if you buck spirit, if you will. Amen.
Amen. Come on.
And so uh, I appreciate you welcoming me in, tagging me in to this space, um, um, speaking all words of encouragement here, uh, grafting me in so I can share words of encouragement. Um, and it makes me that's so Boston. That's still my home. It's a wonderful feeling, because not every community has that as its history. Every community has that as its foundational fabric quilt, if you will. And isn't that beautiful to know that that's where we live? That's our foundation. And so uh, I had a teacher like that, certainly where I grew up. Um, there are teachers and counselors here in Boston. Um, now that I'm grafted in, I'm a Greater Boston community member, and I get to be that for young ones. Teaching is not my profession, but I get to be that light, that beacon and bridge here in this community, and I'm so grateful to be grafted into that. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you as well for taking the time to come over and sit down with me. And today was a day where you had some other things that you needed to do, or at least you set out on doing. And you decided to come and be here with me on the Thought Exchange Cafe to share some of your experience, strength, and hope, but also to help to educate, motivate, inspire, and eliminate some of the fears that some of the folks are going through today, right? And that's what the Thought Exchange Cafe is all about. We're about opening up the door for anyone to come in that has a positive message that can educate, motivate, inspire. And stories, right? Stories have a way. And it's those past stories from our mothers and fathers and aunts and uncles and those things that we've been through that continue. Let me just say, I know it's past stories for myself that helped me to get through some rough times, to get through some challenges, and to help me to say, okay, Tony, like my mother said, nobody said that you was going to always have a good time. You got to fight through it, boy. You got to be okay. You just got to hold tight. And she said, you just got to trust God. That's it. You got to trust God. You're going to go through some things because, yeah, you're Black. You're going to meet some challenges. You're going to meet more challenges than your counterpart. But you got to continue to fight on. Well, she did say one thing: you have to stay covered up under the blood.
You can't beat the power of our stories. Can't you can't beat that. It's powerful. Yeah.
Mm.
Thank you.
In closing, I would like to let the audience know that our guests will be returning on another episode here at the Thought Exchange Cafe. And if you want to see her, she will be on the No Filter podcast coming on this Monday, I believe. And Monday is the 8th, June 8th. She will be on the No Filter podcast with hosts Rakeem and Carl. So if you would like to hear more, please tune into the No Filter podcast, as well as continue to tune into the Thought Exchange Cafe. And I'd like to thank you. And I also like to thank the audience, because there's something that we have that we cannot overlook, and that is time. Because time is a very valuable asset, and so is our minds. We have to protect our most valuable asset. And one is our mind, and the next is our time. We have to be careful about how we use it and who we give it to. So, gratitude. Gratitude. And I look forward to having you back here with us for episode 2 with you. And help me, please.
With ease. Coenia.
Coenia. Coenia. Coease. Nina. Coease. The 2 E's gotta ease. I just love the way you did that. Could you do it for us one time? Just
Coenia.
No, you have to give us the way you did that.
Say it with ease.
No, you you had some emotion with it. Come on, you got to give us that emotion. You had the hand motion. You had the
With ease. Coenia.
no. I'm not gonna stop until you do this. And I know y'all I know you're probably saying, "Boy, just let it go." But the way she did it, it was. You said.
How did I do it?
You said,
I can't beat that. Coenia.
Right, but the way you just, it was almost like a dance.
That's so well done. Coenia. I'm gonna have to watch that so I could save that. Coenia. That's beautiful.
Well,
Yeah.
you'll have it to watch.
Yeah.
So once again, we'd like to thank you for
I
tuning.
loved having my name choreographed.
Well, when you come
Thank
back,
you.
when you come back, I'm gonna do the. Hopefully, I can.
I'm very humbled. Thank you. Thank you. Sincerely, thank you. Thank you. You've been so generous. Thank you.
And I thank you just as well too. Until next time, folks. May God continue to hold you, keep you. If there was anything that resonated with you or you think it may resonate with someone else, share this episode with them. Tune in, subscribe. And we look forward to seeing you again on the next episode, coming to you from the Thought Exchange Cafe. And I'd like to give you the last word.
Thank you. Much gratitude.
To the audience.
Much gratitude. Thank you to this community and abundant blessings to the Lena Park CDC. Thank you.
Until next time, God bless. Stay covered. And we look forward to your comments. We look forward to your suggestions here on the Thought Exchange Cafe. Take care, and may God continue to bless you, keep you, and guide you.